Hello and welcome to What's Next. It's Indy NXT Oval Series action live from Echo Park Speedway, formerly known as Atlanta Motor Speedway, here in Georgia. We're here for round number 9 of 12 of the inaugural Indy NXT Oval Series. I'm Jacob Collins bringing the call here tonight as we get this race underway, working our way through practice right now. That's not what I want. I want timing tower. Gets an idea who's going to be quick here in qualifying. We've seen it play out a number of weeks throughout the season so far. Qualifying super critical on these big tracks in Indy NXT competition. Expect that to be no different here tonight. 3 splits on offer here tonight. The top split here sitting in just around 3,500 and change. 3,513 by my count. So that's solid strength of field here tonight. We've got ourselves some regulars of the series and IndyCar on the whole once more. We'll hop out there with current points leader. Actually, he's not taking the track yet. We'll hop out there with Dustin Bolgren, who I believe was on the podium last week. Hop aboard his number 9 machine in qualifying. He's out there getting ready for business. I'll get nice and low up against the white line here at Atlanta. Of course, this is the new version of the course here. The slightly narrow, heavily banked, super speedway-esque Atlanta configuration. All the way down on the apron. Will rejoin the track. That'll be his first time. He'll be provisionally on the pole as the first car to take a time. We'll start to see that drop as cars set times here. Corwin currently on the pole now. This will be one of 3 1.5-mile tracks remaining on the Indy NXT Oval Series calendar for the 2025 Season 4 season, in which many a time has been had. That'll be Bolgren's qualifying run done. His second lap was no faster than the first, at least comparatively speaking to the top of the timing sheet. Yeah, a bit slower that time by for Bolgren. We'll hop out with current points leader Dylan Wylazinski as he tackles the 1.5-mile Atlanta. He'll be coming on. I believe this will be his first qualifying lap. Running nice and high here, trying to build up all the momentum. I'm suspecting he's going to go for his fast lap to be lap number 2 here. Of course, we've got a number of drivers here making a series debut, to my knowledge. We got Rusty Plant out there in the number 6 car. Good to see him back behind the wheel of an open-wheel car on an oval. Wylazinski's going to go for it this time, hugging that bottom lane. Cut the apron, coming to the flag there, the white. He'll stay nice and tucked in on that double white line on the inside of the track here. Cruise around, dive to the apron nice and early here. Cut it as close as he dares to the grass there. See where Wylazinski lines up. He'll line up in the 4th spot with that time here. These apron games are going to be spicy. That's my suspicion as well. We'll hop on board Andy Kirkenbauer for his second qualifying lap as he's in the hunt for the title here in Indy NXT Oval competition. I believe he currently sits 3rd in the point standings as of this moment behind Wylazinski and Chris Wetz. Where does the Prodigy line up tonight? Good enough for 5th as it stands. Top of the timing sheet, very tight here. And that'll wrap up qualifying here for tonight's 45-lap event here at Atlanta. We'll get the grid up here with some times. Get an outboard shot of these drivers from the blimp. We will have John Corwin on the pole in his number 12 machine with a 27.835 over Dustin Bolgren in the second spot with a 27.863. Matt Glenn will line up third in his number 14 car alongside current points leader Dylan Wyluzinski in the 4 car. The prodigy, Indy Kirkwood, will line up fifth in his Votive Racing League entry alongside Taylor Thurman in the 15. Chris Wetz out here once more in Indy NXT Oval Series competition. He'll be lining up in the 7th spot alongside Rusty Plant. Gerald Ogaro will be 9th alongside IAR's Mark Murphy, rounding out the top 10. We'll move to Ty Keela starting at 11th in that Lucky Charms car. Alan Kamar will be 12th. Crash Neon will line up 13th, the winner at Iowa earlier this season. He'll be looking to make some moves through the field here tonight. AJ Pritchett will alongside him in that iconic Pabst Blue Ribbon machine. He'll be 14th. Miles Morris will qualify 15th in his number 13 car alongside Tyler Villamere in the 16th spot. Scott Ross is the first car not to set a time here tonight. He'll line up 17th. And Matthew Benoit will line up 18th in our 18-car field here tonight. Back to the front of the field with Bolgren. We will get a forward-facing camera on these drivers. Can find one. There we go. They'll be rolling off the pit lane here shortly. We will get that scoring pylon on the screen. So 45 laps here on offer tonight. Should be a relatively quick one. We got a Taylor Thurman fan in the chat. Welcome on in. Would like to remind everybody we do these broadcasts on behalf of the community, so you can feel free to shoot us a super chat on YouTube or donate via our GoFundMe link in the description. We'd be happy if you have the means and would like to support us monetarily for what we do here on P1. Plenty of coverage of open wheel action still yet to come this week, and we'll cover that once this race gets underway at some point when the action settles down. But who knows if that'll happen. I believe we'll have the Formula Indy Series as well as the Horizon IndyCar Series tomorrow night, taking on Zolder and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Oval, respectively. Be good to see some league action later on in the week here on iRacing. So we'll be heading off turn number 4 here. John Corwin will have control of the field.
Green.
Corwin will go. He's going to get to the apron off the line. A lot of cars bobbling towards the back of the field. One on the apron committed. I believe that's Ogaro in the 18 machine. They'll work 1 and 2. Bulk of the field already down to single file. See some cars a bit further back, maybe wanting to tuck into line sooner rather than later. We've got, I believe, the first 8 cars all under a blanket. Got cars already looking to that apron down the front straightaway. That'll put Wyluzinski up to the 3rd spot.
Caution.
We've got a car around. I believe that's going to be Ty Keela. Already making contact with the wall. We will run that back here shortly. So we've got Ty Keela on the outside heading into turn number 1 here. He's way up high. 13 car gets into the 17. That'll be Morris into Kamar, and then Ty Keela nowhere to go up into the outside wall. That'll likely be night done for the Rogue Racing driver. Unfortunate end to his night. Not too unlike his unfortunate incident in the IndyCar Oval Series top split from Pocono earlier this evening. Back to the front of the field. I believe that's going to be the only car with significant damage. Possible he's gotten away with one here. But for those rooting on Ty Keela here tonight, not looking super great for our number 1 car here at Atlanta. So we didn't quite get a ton going on so far, but a couple passes have been made. You've got Indy Kirkenbauer working in the 5th spot. Wyluzinski's up 1. we will see if anybody opts to come down the pit lane here. Have seen that play a factor in a number of races so far this season. Not sure it'll be quite as big of one here at Atlanta. The Thurman fan club coming on in. You love to see it. He currently runs in the 7th spot, I believe just at the back portion of our screens here. And that purple and white machine, we'll get him on the screen for momentarily there. There he is. He's got the Snap-on and Thrustmaster logos on that IL-15. Slick-looking machine for Mr. Thurman. So Tyquila is down on the pit lane. We'll see if he's able to rejoin this field before we go back green. Does not look promising, but we're still under yellow here. Pace car will continue to circulate. So we've completed we'll be coming to 5 laps completed. We're coming to the 4th lap completed, rather, of this event here at Atlanta. Will give us a quick opportunity to run down that Wednesday night coverage that I mentioned earlier. That'll be the Horizon IndyCar Series. Their final round of Season 2 will take place in Indianapolis. Mark Murphy will be on the call, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And then the Formula Indy Series will take on Circuit Zolder in Belgium at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Gary Godso and crew on the call for that one. And we will not have any... Actually, we do have one more thing. Thursday night, Split 2 of the IndyCar Indy NXT Thrustmaster Pro Qualifying Series. Something like that. Will be at 7 p.m. Eastern Time from Gateway, their second of 3 oval rounds. And then we are off the rest of the week. And we'll be back Monday night with our present, future, past coverage between IndyCar Open, Indy NXT Road, and the Lotus 79 League Onyx at various facilities. Open will be taking on Bathurst at 7 p.m. Eastern Time next Monday. Indy NXT Road will be at Lime Rock Park. That'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And then the Lotus 79 Onyx League will be taking on Auto Club Speedway at 9:05 p.m. Eastern Time. Lights out on the pace car. Drivers are navigating this back straightaway here. Single file restarts. Wonder if any driver will get a solid jump here to make something happen early on in this run, or if we're going to see guys kind of settle into a rhythm here around this 1.5 mile oval. Heavy banking. Full throttle. Pace car is off. That'll give Corwin control of the field. They'll head off turn number 4. Corwin's going to launch right about here. We're under green. Solid launch for Corwin. See Mark Murphy looking to the high side deep in the field there. We'll hop back to him. He'll be looking on Rusty Plant for the 8th spot. We've got cars 2x2 here. I believe that's going to be Morris on the inside, Kamara on the outside. Pritchett will also be on the outside. See Crash Neon looking around behind these guys. They'll round turns 3 and 4. We're going to hop back to the front when they cross the stripe as Bolgren is looking to strike on Corwin now. As Thurman will set the fastest lap temporarily as Tyquila will get up on the board. He's back out. He's on the lead lap in 16th. We'll see if he can work his way further up the field here. We've got 5 cars under a blanket here at the front, and that'll become many more as this run progresses and the cars are not able to pull away from each other. We see Wylozinski shoot to the apron. That'll put Bolgren on the outside. He's going to lose some spots here more than likely. Bolgren way up the track. Contact made. It'll be Matt Glenn on the inside of him. Might have been more contact there as well. Move Glenn to the 3rd spot. Kirkenbauer's up to 4th. Bolgren's going to roll to the end of this line, move Thurman up to the 5th spot. This is the lead train of about 7 or 8 cars. They'll all run that apron. Fastest way around here is the shortest way around here. See one car, I believe that's Chris Wetz working the outside in the 7th spot. He'll hop into line now. Rusty Plant will be the 8th car, that dark green machine just off of our shot here. Back through 3 and 4. Gotten a couple laps under the belts here. Corwin's going to stay nice and low here. Driver's kind of sloshing back and forth through the apron there on the front straightaway. This is, I believe, the first track we've seen where drivers have been able to do that. Of course, Charlotte has the AstroTurf in the front stretch, and I believe Texas likewise has grass. So this is the first opportunity we've had a paved quad oval to be able to do these sorts of moves down on the very, very low sides of the speedway. Drivers bouncing all over the place. Now, it is very bumpy down there. That is a very, very high commitment, high skill thing to be able to do over and over again. Let's not discount that in the slightest. As you see, even on the racing surface, there's a good bit of bouncing going on from these IL-15 machines around here at Atlanta. Lazinski's going to look low. He's gotten close enough to Corwin. Corwin's going to have to get off the bottom here. We'll see if he can hold on to it. Move Lazinski to the point only just. They're going to maybe make a tap there off of turn number 2. Corwin's going to commit to the high lane. You've got Kirkenbauer now, the 3rd car on the bottom. And around's going to go Corwin. We've got the big one. Everybody involved. We'll roll that back. So here we are coming off turn number 2, heading down the back straightaway. You've got Corwin on the outside there. We're still navigating that back straightaway. We're going to try to get a little closer to the point of contact here. Down the back straightaway, heading off into turn number 3. Believe that's going to be the Ghost Energy car. I'm not quite sure who that was, but that's going to send Corwin around, Kirkenbauer into the fence. I believe that's a number of other cars likewise in the fence. We'll have to get a complete damage report as to who all that was. Pritchett came through clean. You've got Ty Keela with damage. Scott Ross is involved in that Miller Genuine Draft car. John Corwin, obviously. We saw Kirkenbauer up in the fence, but huge accident here in the opening stages here at Atlanta. We'll move back to Lazinski at the point. So that's going to be Mark Murphy out, Kirkenbauer out, Bolgren, I believe, is going to be out with that one. John Corwin, likewise, going to be out with damage. Obviously, we saw Ty Keela's Lucky Charms car. And that is the risk that happens when you have cars trying to shuffle back into line or get really close up next to each other to slow each other down. We talk about things like side draft, particularly in the stock car world, but we have similar effects here in the world of open wheel racing where you can get very close alongside each other, but we are not nearly as well forgiven in terms of being able to get cars around the track. We don't have the luxury of bumpers. Makes it much, much more difficult to cram cars very, very close together. Can't push each other. These cars do not line up in a way that you can get them to push each other. Those rear attenuators kind of act as levers and pick the cars up and spin them around. You'll see kind of on the back of this number 4 machine, you see that attenuator with the blinking brake light on there. So that'll get us to the 3rd of this race complete. That'll be Lazinski ahead of Taylor Thurman. Chris Wetz will run 3rd. It's looking good for Chris Wetz here to maybe gain a bit of ground over Indy Kirkenbauer, who runs 3rd in the point standings as it stands. Rusty Plant making his Indy NXT Oval Series debut here on the top split. He runs in 4th. Crash Neon, he'll be 5th in his number 5 car. Of course, the winner early on in the season at Iowa. Alan Kamara, he runs 6th ahead of AJ Pritchett in that Pabst Blue Ribbon machine. Tyler D. Villamere, he's up to 8th. Gerald Ogaro will be the first car moving on the speedway, I believe, in 9th. Ty Keela's in the pit lane, along with Scott Ross, Matthew Benoit. Matt Glenn is making his way back to catch up to the field. He might have repaired damage, but he's going to be on the tail end of the lead lap here. He'll be in the 10th spot once all's said and done. And then we've got Benoit heading out of the pit lane. Ty Keela, Scott Ross, John Corwin. So we'll have 11 cars of 18 starters back on the field when we get going green here. We've got the cars navigating the back straightaway now. And we will see what 2 more thirds of a race has here on offer here at Atlanta. Of course, next week, Indy Next Oval will be taking on the Legacy Scan, or is what we like to call Proper Phoenix here on P1. It'll take place at the same time you saw this go on air tonight. Be the last of the non-1.5s here in the inaugural season of Indy Next. And we're about ready to go green. That Get Good racing machine of Dylan Wylazinski will come off turn number 4 and have control of the field on the restart. He's going to launch now.
Green flag, green flag.
Green flag in the air. Barney is waving it. Thurman will look to try to run Wylazinski down. We saw it take a couple laps on these restarts for the cars in 2nd, 3rd on back to reel them in. We'll see. Thurman's going to look to the outside. He's going to try to make this run early. I think the earlier he tries this move, the better, because Chris Wetz is going to close in on the bottom. So he's got to make his attempt early. Not quite enough, but he's going to at least stay alongside Wylazinski on the bottom here. You see Plant, Neon, and Khmer kind of grouping up in a second group, 4th, 5th, and 6th. That's just off the back of this group. You see the dark green machine of Rusty Plant in the 4th spot there. They'll start to slowly reel back in this front group of Wylazinski, Thurman, and Wetz. 11 cars still here out on the speedway. Gap of the field on the whole, about 2.5 seconds. So here is Wylazinski, Thurman, and Wetz. Wetz is going to look high here. He's going to have one opportunity to do this, or he's going to get shuffled down, I think. In the second lane, that plain white car. He's going to tuck back into line, surely, heading down the front stretch here. No, he's going to stay committed to the high side. He's not wanting to play the apron game. Thurman gets a bit of the grass there through the apron. Wetz is holding it up tough on the outside here. He's going to tuck back into line down the back straightaway just a little bit. Try to get some draft going for himself. He's going to stay side by side with Thurman through 3 and 4. Thurman's going to pull ahead with the draft from Wylazinski ahead. Coming to lap number 20. All but Matthew Glenn are going to be within a second and a half. So we could just as well have another large incident like we saw just moments ago. Chris Wetz very impressively being able to make that outside line work, but I think his luck may have started to run out with Rusty Plant on the inside. Now, that'll move Plant to 3rd, more than likely off the corner here, as Wetz is not going to be able to tuck back down. You see AJ Pritchett having joined Wetz on the outside line. Got Crash Neon on the bottom there. So I imagine a lot of these drivers are just biding their time. They want to be in a position where their car still exists come the end of this race. In one piece, mind you. Thurman and Wylazinski have put up a small gap to the rest of the field, but that's not going to last as Rusty Plant's going to be on the bottom with no contest on the outside. He'll start to slowly reel in the duo at the front of the field. Lots of drivers getting real close to that grass on both ends of the quad oval here. See Thurman staying as close as he can get to Wylazinski ahead. He doesn't want to have to back off in the slightest, because that's going to put him at risk of being caught and passed by a multitude of cars. Field entire top 10 separated by a second now. You can pretty much see them all on the screen as we head through the quad oval there. Down to Gerald Ogaro in that number 18 machine. We're going to see a bit of jockeying for position as Chris Wetz is still trying to commit to that outside lane. You're going to see Crash Neon on the inside. They're going to stay nice and even keel here. We'll hop on board with Crash as he navigates running in the 4th spot, multiple cars deep. He's right behind Rusty Plant. He'll stay tucked nice and low here. Almost 200 miles an hour heading down into turn number 3. Of course, these Indy NXT machines packing 450 horsepower. Nothing to sneeze at, especially in the draft here. Chris Wetz, you can hear his car on the outside start to inch ahead of Neon on the entry. He's going to gather it down. We'll run one more lap on board with Crash here as he stays very closely tucked behind Chris Wetz here. You can see Rusty Plant ahead, Wetz on the outside. Wetz is going to be inching on that outside lane ever so slowly. He did have the 4th place spot that time by, and we'll hop back out board so we can get a better look at whatever is going on out here.
The yellow flag is out.
Yellow flag is out. That's going to be Pritchett. I believe Matt Glenn might be involved. We'll take a look. Heading off into turn number 1. That's going to be, I believe, the 17 machine of Alan Kamare heads up into Pritchett. And then the 16 car of Matthew Benoit has nowhere to go. Does he manage to land? Oh, my goodness. He took flight, lands on all 4 wheels, keeps it out of the wall, and I don't think there's a lick of damage on that car. We got to watch that again. We're going to watch Benoit here. We'll watch it from the onboard if we can, because I think Benoit got away with one here. So you see Pritchett. Pritchett's going to come down. Benoit's going to launch into the air, lose his front wing, regain it, land on the track. Bit of a slide into turn number 1. And he might get out of that scot-free. Goodness me. See if we can get on board with that one real quick. Run it back one more time. We'll play it at speed from the cockpit camera. See Benoit here. You're going to see Kamare up into Pritchett. He's going to launch into the air, bounce on the ground, and he magically keeps it out of the fence, and he will stay out on the speedway. We'll see if he comes down the pit lane here. Looks like he might, so there might still be damage on that machine, whether it's suspension or otherwise, but he went for a flight here at Atlanta. He'll be joined by Gerald Ogaro and Matt Glenn, likewise with Pritchett on the meatball flag. So Glenn, Benoit, Ogaro, no meatball flags being served by any of these guys, but they're coming down the pit lane, maybe going to take tires, fix some optional damage. Obviously, they don't have too much to lose being on the tail end of the lead lap as long as they get back out there before this race gets going. Lights are still on the pace car, rather. Little over halfway now, so we'll get our laps to go here. We'll be heading into the final third of the race. Looks like we're splitting it into stages here. Not to bust out the NASCAR-isms, but that's kind of what we're getting here tonight at Atlanta. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Indy NXT here from Atlanta Motor Speedway. We're going to stick to calling it by its non-corporate name as much as we can. Of course, Echo Park, the title sponsor, as you see their logo plastered on the walls and in the infield and on the, I think it's on the flag stand now too. So Dylan Wylezinski leads Taylor Thurman in the second spot. Rusty Plant runs third ahead of Crash Neon and Chris Wetz. Alan Kamara was involved, at least in the opening portion of that incident we just saw. He'll be sixth ahead of Tyler D. Villamere in the seventh spot. Gerald O'Garo is back on the track in that Chip Ganassi-inspired Target livery in eighth. Matthew Benoit is making his way out of the pit lane in ninth, as is Matt Glenn and his Ghost Energy car. So that'll give us 10 cars of 18 starters ready to strike once more here at Atlanta. Don't forget to like and share the stream with anybody you so choose. Subscribe, ring bells, ding, ding, ding. We got ourselves a cage match here in Indy NXT. Plenty more action still yet to come in this inaugural season of Indy NXT here on iRacing. So lights are out on the pace car. Field will be in control of Dylan Wylezinski, current points leader, showing us why he's at the point of the standings. We'll see if he can close out another big victory here in his bid for the inaugural Indy NXT Oval Series Championship.
Green flag, green flag.
He's off. Thurman's going to get a good jump here. Not sure what Wylezinski had happen there. We'll see if Thurman's able to generate the run on the outside here. Wylezinski's going to hold on to it. We'll see Rusty Plant start to enter the picture on the bottom here. It's entirely possible Thurman can hold the outside here. A bit of a bobble. He's going to start to get shuffled back here, I believe, with Crash Neon on the bottom in the multicolored car he's got. Driver's bouncing on that apron once more. So Thurman's stuck on the outside all on his lonesome. You've got Wetz working the bottom. You've got Kamara working the bottom. O'Garo's thinking about going to the top at the tail end of this group. So we've got 9 cars on the lead lap. Benoit, I believe, down the pit lane had significant damage and went multiple laps down. Andy Kirkwood chiming in from the care center, still sitting in his chair, and then he's saying that his right turn races were better than the left turn ones the last 2 weeks. Well, still a couple of weeks left to go in the season, plenty of time to get some solid races in. Try to leapfrog your way in the point standings. We're going to see a lot of cars very, very close together. That's Plant, Neon, and I believe Thurman on the bottom there. So we see Chris Wetz working the outside. He's been one of the few that's done a bit of work on that outside lane, being able to at least hang tough with cars on the inside lane. That may be enough to pip him a spot or two, as he currently is marked as running 4th now. You got Alan Kamara right behind him, and then the rest of the field's pretty committed to running all the way down right up against the grass. We're going to come to 10 to go this time around. Heading off turn 2. Down the back straightaway, coming to 10 to go. We'll see. We've only got so many more cars left here on track. Will there be a late caution that ultimately decides this race? Only time will tell. Rolling the bottom here. Chris Wetz still hanging tough. He sits in the 4th spot on the outside lane. You've got Thurman making the move just barely by him. Yeah, the Flight for Life helicopter is doing overtime here at Atlanta with how many cars we've seen up into the catch fence and flipping and flying every possible way. Unfortunately, Benoit's magical flight must have resulted in some sort of damage with extensive repairs. having to be done to that machine. Got Wets. Wets got shuffled way up. I'm wondering if contact was made between himself and Chimere. Check that real quick here. Down the back straightaway. Try to catch up to where it would have happened. So heading off into... Oh, no. He made contact with the car on the inside there. I believe that's going to be Crash Neon. And that'll put Wets at the back of the field of the lead lap runners. He'll be 1.5 seconds back. We'll see if he can work his way back towards the field as they'll fight. Coming to 7 to go at the line. Rusty Plant running in second. We see Crash Neon in third. Taylor Thurman sits in the 4th spot. Gerald O'Garo, after making a trip down the pit lane on that most recent cycle of stops, he runs 7th. Wets has made up about a half second already, so he's likely to at least catch the draft before the end of this one. We'll see if he's able to make some moves. While Lazinski stays committed to that low lane. We got a car down on the apron. Car in the wall, that's Wets. Is that going to bring out a yellow? He's going to refire it. He's on 3 wheels. Don't think that's going to bring out a yellow. They're going to work back down the back straightaway once more. I believe that was contact between Wets and one of the other white cars near the back of the field. That leaves us with 8 cars. This is the field. All on screen here. 5 to go. Everybody single file except for Gerald O'Garo on the outside. We're going to start to try to generate an outside lane. I believe that's going to be Villamere on the outside in his number 11 machine. He's going to work the high side with Matt Glenn. They're going to try something. They might as well. Crash Neon and Thurman bouncing all over that inside lane in 1 and 2. Trying to stay nice and low here. We come into 2 to go this time. While Lazinski is still in the control of this race. He'll need to come around this time in one more to solidify a win here at Atlanta. Is there going to be anybody who makes a run for it to the line? Not sure if anybody's close enough at this stage. It's going to be generated on the front stretch here. We're going to see cars shoot way down here. White flag in the air. This is the final lap. Lazinski ahead of Rusty Plant. Cars all the way down to the apron. That's Thurman. Moving on Crash Neon. He's going to run the apron as a lane. It's going to be a bit slower, I think. All right, here comes the run to the line. Lazinski's going to take it. O'Garo all the way in the 3rd lane is going to finish 3rd. Just barely over Crash Neon. We'll have to get a replay of the line there. But it will be Dylan Lazinski taking a commanding win here tonight. We'll run back to the run to the line here. So we're coming off turn number 4. We'll get the chopper camera out. See if we can get... So we got Thurman running on the apron through 3 and 4. You got Rusty Plant. He's going to look high here, but watch this car on the outside here in O'Garo, that red machine. Manages to hold off Chris Wets just barely at the line. The gap 1,000th between those 2 cars. And yeah, O'Garo just barely ahead as they cross the stripe here. And shout out to Matt Glenn. He came from all the way outside the top 10, I believe, in the last couple laps to pick up a top 5. And we will run through the rest of the finishing order. Not too many more cars on the lead lap that we haven't already talked about. But we will get you that finishing result here momentarily. So it will be Dylan Wylazinski winning here at Atlanta. Rusty Plant, 0.063, 63 thousandths of a second. Behind Mr. Wylazinski, Gerald Ugaro from the outside lane will just barely pip out Crash Neon for the 3rd spot. Crash Neon will finish 4th. Matt Glenn finishes in the 5th spot, rounding out our top 5, and Alan Camara will finish 6th. Tyler D. Villamere will finish 7th. Taylor Thurman will round out 8 of the 8 lead lap cars here tonight. Matthew Benoit will be the first car multiple laps down in 9th. Chris Wetz will round out the top 10. We will move to the bottom portion of the field. AJ Pritchett, with damage early in a large accident, will finish 11th. 12th will be Ty Keela, also out in that big crash early. Scott Ross, John Corwin, Dustin Bolgren, Indy Kirkenbauer, Mark Murphy, and Miles Morris all involved in that incident. We will see who we get into the interview room here tonight. I believe we've got our winner down there in Mr. Wylazinski. So we will bring him on up here if he would like to join us. We'll work our way down the podium if anybody else opts to join us here. Dylan, Jacob Collins, P1 Broadcasting. You got me?
I got you. You got me?
Yeah, I got you. So quite the chaotic race behind you. Obviously, you got to the lead fairly early on in this one and had to witness it all in your rearview mirror of all the trials and tribulations of the field. Kind of talk us through what you were thinking as you were heading lap after lap trying to lock down another victory here today.
Well, it was pretty much from the very start. The goal was to try and get pole because I knew when she got the lead, it was very hard to lose it. Well, I didn't get pole. So then it was like, okay, well, how fast can I get to the lead? I'm like, let's see if maybe I can pop a couple surprises on people early when they're not paying attention, or like when they're, they're like, okay, let's just gonna settle in for the race. I'm like, let's see if I can try and make a pass early. So I threw it down low a couple of times, got to the lead, and once I got to the lead, it's like you can't pass it on the outside, so it's just don't give up the bottom.
Yeah, we saw a couple cars make attempts, especially on the restarts, to maybe build up something nice and early to make those passes even deeper in the field. It seemed like it took a while for everybody to kind of gather their momentum and get lined up where they wanted to be, especially on that bottom lane. Kind of talk us through running that bottom lane. It looked very, very bumpy down all the way on the apron throughout the quad oval here. Was it a trouble keeping the car pointed straight down there?
The only tricky part is right when you're going into turn 1, when you transition off the apron going across that red line, there's a pretty big bump over there. And if you got your force feedback set pretty high, it's a little bit to try to manage, but it's not terrible.
Yeah, certainly very bumpy despite the smooth look of this recently reconfigured Atlanta Speedway. If you've got anybody you want to shout out, Dylan, the floor is yours.
I'd just like to shout out Get Good Racing, the racing team that I'm part of, and the racing school with the YouTube channel by the same name. They have an endurance team that I race with throughout the year, and a bunch of good friends in there.
Well, it's good to see you up here at the top step of the podium here, Dylan. We hope to see you throughout the rest of this inaugural season of Indy NXT Oval.
Well, I appreciate it. Hope to talk to you again.
Likewise. That will be your winner here tonight. We're going to get Rusty Plant. This is a rare Rusty Plant interview. We'll see if we can get his car up on the screen for everybody. Good to see Rusty back out here in open wheel competition. See if we can find his machine on the racetrack. Get it stationary if at all possible. Come on, Rusty. Where are you? There we go. We'll get Rusty on the screen here. Nice and slow. Back this up a little more, actually, just to make sure we get sufficient time for him. Rusty Plant, Jacob Collins, P1 Broadcasting. You got me?
Yeah, I got you. What's up?
Well, you were able to kind of sneak your way up through the field through all the carnage here tonight. It was good to see you making I believe this is your debut here in Indy NXT here on P1. So it's good to see you out here working on the road to Indy ladder. So kind of talk us through how you made it up through the field. It looked like it was very tough to make passes as the run progressed.
Yeah, actually, it's my debut in this car as a whole. I've never done a race in it so far, but this was a pretty good one. I like the way it drives overall. And yeah, kind of my strategy the whole time was just defense. It's hard to pass on the outside, if not impossible. And people are pretty good about defending the bottom. So I figured if I just keep the spots I have and then pick up the ones that come to me, then probably get a pretty good finish out of it.
Yeah, we saw, the train kind of form up on the bottom, and everybody was committed to running that apron. We saw multiple attempts from the outside lane, including a late one from Gerald O'Garo, ultimately peeping the bottom step of the podium over Crash Neon. So it did seem like if you timed it right, you could get something at the end of the race to maybe gain spots deeper in that line. But once you got to the front or the pointy end of things, it was basically you got to defend what you have near the front of the field. You got any other thoughts as to what maybe could have transpired throughout this race? Maybe if there was more cars left moving towards the end of it, if there was going to be maybe a run that could be built up over the course of a couple laps, say, and try to make a move?
I think it's probably possible, but like I said, I don't have enough experience in this car to really know, which is why I adopted the strategy of just defending. Because, I could have probably tried to go for more and it might have worked, but I took the safer bet here.
Nothing wrong with hedging bets safely, especially at a track like Atlanta. If you've got anybody you want to shout out, Rusty, floor is yours.
Yeah, just shout out the track team. The guys always race IndyCar and Indy NXTs with.
All right, Rusty. Well, shout out to the rest of the track guys as well. Good to see you back out here on P1. We hope to catch you through the rest of this season.
Yeah, thanks. You too, man.
That'll be Rusty Plant finishing second here tonight. And I believe that'll be it for podium interviews, as Gerald O'Garo and his wonderful Target machines not going to make an appearance in the booth here tonight, but good to see another fresh face get a solid finish here in Indy NXT Oval Series competition. We will be back next week for Indy NXT Oval at Legacy Phoenix, proper Phoenix 2008, I believe, with the start-finish line on the straightaway and not in a corner. Hope to see everybody out for that one. Should be a good race if it's anything like the other lower rungs on the Road to Indy USF Pro Championships ladder system. It's just the Road to Indy. I'm going to keep calling it that. Thank everybody for tuning in, and I want to thank all the people around the world that do the difficult jobs that let us do all the fun stuff we do here. And if you have anybody on this Veterans Day, I did recall it is Veterans Day, so I want to thank all those in the military who are actively serving or who have served, and thank them for their service. And we will catch you on the next broadcast here of Indy NXT. Have a good night, everyone.